Welcome back to the P.S. Gilmore story and episode 82. And today we're looking at the Gilmore Memorial Concert, which was held in 1906 in New York City in Madison Square Gardens. And why was this held? Gilmore was dead 14 years, but the news had spread around New York that his wife and his child were destitute. They had no money. So everyone clubbed together, and the brightest of society basically offered their support to help out the family of Gilmore, a man who had helped out America for so many times over his 43-year career. So they got together an orchestra of 1,000 musicians, 1,000 choir, and as it says here, 4 conductors: Walter Damrosch, Victor Herbert, John Philip Sousa, and Frank Damrosch. And basically the idea was pack Madison Square Garden, and basically all of the money would go to help Mrs. Gilmore in their time of need. Here's another advertisement from the event: Gilmore's Mammoth Memorial Concert in commemoration of the late Patrick Sarsfield Gilmore, etc. And just to give you an idea, the Memorial Committee includes, on the right-hand side, President Roosevelt, Archbishop Farley, former President Cleveland, Governor Higgins, and Mayor McClellan. This was just a battering of the influence that this committee had. It showed how much society held Gilmore's memory even 14 years after his passing. But now we have a problem, because in the future advertisements we see that the directors, the conductors are getting the kudos, they're getting the praise. The musicians are down near the bottom of the list, along with the singers, and that's going to lead to a problem later on. Music Master of the Masses was one of the titles bestowed upon the late P.S. Gilmore by his many admirers. To Gilmore, that was probably due to his elevation of the greatest of arts in America more than any other individual. Again, another advertisement similar to the other ones, in the sense that the conductors are getting all of the praise, and the musicians, well, they're at the bottom of the list. One wouldn't consider that to be too sensitive an issue, but obviously some did. So they, as this was going on, there was also other events, like in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where Gilmore Day was still been held. Cincinnati, Chicago, they talked about it all over the country, and they did it. Gilmore Memorial Concert Committee. At the bottom there it says the committee: Honorary President Roosevelt, Archbishop Farley, Honorary Grover Cleveland, and George McClellan. Here's Theodore Roosevelt, a great friend of Gilmore's. Gilmore played for him on many occasions and many election parades. They knew each other very well. Roosevelt, of course, had a mother with Irish linkage as well. Grover Cleveland, this man, Gilmore presided over his wedding to his future bride, Folsom was her name, and they got married in the White House, in the Blue Room of the White House, and Gilmore played. Here is Frank Higgins, the governor of New York, and again, well known. It's truly incredible to see. He crossed over party lines. He even crossed over between Union and Confederate. Here we have George McClellan, son of the former Union general and mayor of Greater New York at this stage, and he's on the committee. All lending their support. Here's Thomas Mulroy, president of the Memorial Committee and president of the Lincoln Savings Bank, a bank for whom a man called John P. Carter worked for in his career. And here is John P. Carter. Now, John was the future husband of Minnie Gilmore, Patrick Gilmore's daughter. And so all of this shows the high esteem that these people held Gilmore in. Here's Frank Damrosch, a wonderful a wonderful conductor in his own right, along with his brother, who you will see shortly, and here's his brother Walter, and they all conducted for the event, along with Victor Herbert, and they admired so much about Gilmore because for instance, here's Victor Herbert, former conductor of the New York Philharmonic, a wonderfully talented man, composer, and so on and so forth. And he had assumed the baton of the 22nd Regiment band of Gilmore's. And of course, here's John Philip Sousa, who at this stage had developed and walked, I suppose, into at least Gilmore's early footprint. He'd assumed most of the early bookings of Gilmore's band before Victor Herbert took over the band and actually reassumed a place for Gilmore's band in America. So this is the Gilmore Memorial program and souvenir from 1906. Very lavish, lots of gold on the program itself. And again, the idea was they were going to pack the stadium with 12,000 people and basically present a large bounty of money to Mrs. Gilmore and her daughter. Here's part one of the program. The first piece was was conducted by John Philip Sousa, then Victor Herbert, and then a cornet solo by Herbert Clark, a former Gilmore soloist. Second part, Walter Damrosch and Frank Damrosch, followed by John Philip Sousa with the King of France and Stars and Stripes Forever. And the third part of the program, we see Victor Herbert at the top there, Lohengrin by Wagner, and followed by Walter Damrosch, and then Frank Damrosch bringing up the conclusion. So here, all of this was been done for this man. And again, everyone admired him to such a degree. All over the country, there were events being held to celebrate Gilmore. Now, why was there a problem? Well, the reason was the musical union basically didn't like the way they were relegated to the last of the concert announcements, and so they demanded to be paid instead of almost $10,000, which would have been a huge amount of money being presented to Mrs. Gilmore. After all the musicians were paid, at the insistence of the union, the amount that Mrs. Gilmore got was in the region of $300. very sad conclusion to the wonderful career. So we'll be back next week with more of the story, and thank you very much. Click like and subscribe, and look forward to being here then. Bye.